saying it. I'm not a part of Silicon Mountain, which is not what we see. Why are particular people, and I will name a few. Oh, okay. Churchill, Laye, Ari Ashu, etc. are always in the forefront of this silicon, and I see how they clearly shadow upcoming tech. I see a fishy play here. There's a real deeper reason why these people do not want to project a structure. Any community without a clear structure consists of thieves and fishiness. Why the too much politics? And Ganje from Boya. Thank you very much, Ganje, for your reaction, and of course it is your opinion, and like I always say, as a bona fide Cameroonian, you are entitled to it. We are going to take this other reaction here. Leadership is not about happiness. There should be a head in Silicon Mountain to manage and control every activity. Speaks for the board and represents. With that, Silicon will stand more chances to get advanced. They should work towards that, so that there should be a yes. There should be a head on. That's my opinion. Elvis from Boya. Thank you very much, Elvis, for your reaction. Greetings to you guys in the studio. I am enjoying the show. I am Rollins from Moyoka. Oh, I'm happy you're watching. Please, what can you people say about the internet given by the minister? Wow. What can you say about the internet given by the minister? Mr. Tasha, I'm going to ask you that question because I heard you saying something about the internet, minister, internet. I really did not get what you were saying. So our televiewer out there is asking what can be said about the internet given by the minister.
Concerning the internet given by the minister, I believe the three of us will receive the internet, right? All of us will receive the internet. So I will talk on my own part. When I took the, I can say the minister gave us modem. Yes, but for the part of the internet, I'm not sure. Because seriously, they gave us modem and power banks to go and charge our devices, and yes, but for the part of the internet, I'm not sure. Because seriously, when I took the internet have never worked for a day. In my case.
Okay, personal opinion. All right, when he took the internet, he has not worked for a day. I hope that answers your question, Rollins from Moyoka. We are going to take this other reaction. Please, I've been hearing of governmental support and that from foreign bodies. I want to be practical. Lately, I heard a generator was given to them. Please, I wish to ask, who is keeping that generator?
Thank you. It's a very nice question. Very, very. I also wish to know who is keeping the generator.
Why need that too?
You all are in the dark.
No, we are, not all of us are in the dark, I guess.
Like
I guess. Yeah, maybe me and you were on the dark. You and I maybe were in the dark, but maybe
not everybody.
The generator was given to Silicon.
Yes. It was donated to the Silicon.
Now the big question.
The thing was, they brought the generator according to my findings.
Okay.
They brought the generator and it was handed to the Silicon Mountain. That in case of any power failure, they should use
the generator was handed to Silicon Mountain. It's still coming back to the question: who is the Silicon Mountain head? That is the question. Who collected the generator on behalf?
And where is the generator?
Please, I want to ask a question. Does Silicon Mountain have an office? You know, it's office where? Oh, okay. So we are talking. Where? Okay, where?
People should not miss things.
Okay, where is the office of Silicon Mountain?
Don't miss things.
Where is the office of Silicon Mountain?
From findings, right?
Yes.
The office of at First Trust. Part of the sponsor, we know that is active space office. According to me. But from what I researched and from my research and my findings, from stakeholders and other big techies, people are actually paying the office that is a space that people can come and go. That is a place that is a hub that is a hall that people should come and at least do their projects. And I think that was where the generator was kept. You understand, right? But now, I don't know, in the so-called politics, we know that is an office for different.
That is an office for a different purpose. We are going to continue with our reaction, and this one is coming in from Binde Alen from Boya. It reads, So far, how many ideas or projects have been patented? Well, I think that has been answered already. And how many of them have had follow-ups after launch? Good question. A lot of ideas are being started and as startups which never ends up being accomplished, or worse, stolen because of less support from the government and the tech community, Silicon Mountain to be precise. To protect and guide this idea. This brings me to the question, has any of the following ideas, projects followed legal proceedings?
I think the legal proceeding they're talking about is the copyright, to register your product or your idea that this particular product is owned by this person and it cannot be duplicated by another person. And that's a very good question, because I believe Silicon Mountain was coming to support each other in the Silicon Mountain. We have to solve that issue.
Yes.
That you come, you have your product, we come and we show you light that, oh, this man is launching this product. Can we contribute and give this person for his launch? But when this person is launching, they are looking for a way to instead take from the person.
All right. Now we are going to continue with Mr. Binde Alen's reaction, and it continues. How secure are ideas in the Silicon Mountain? Can they be like a community project where everyone contributes, or is it only a means to showcase personal products or ideas in exchange for income? And his last reaction here reads, is Silicon Mountain for the community?
Okay, I think concerning that his group of questions, I want to give it from an experience point of view.
Okay.
First of all, I became part of the Silicon Mountain ecosystem as a student.
Okay.
When I was at the University of Boya, the College of Technology, we had a lot of exchanges with the big guys that had this Google summer of code and stuff, and people that have even gone for these outreach programs. And you know, students are one of the freshest minds of ideas, and I know the premise that he's asking those questions. They are one of the freshest minds of ideas, and they come up with brilliant projects. Now, these projects are presented to people who they look up to, and these people they look up to are the major actors of the Silicon Mountain ecosystem, because we have seen these guys a couple of times presenting for us, talking on our behalf.
With that, our concept.
So now, the next thing that comes up is, I will present an idea and it's not validated, for example in a hackathon or in an exchange, but after some time I see a rebrand of this idea, and the rebrand is almost like a copy of what I had.
Alright.
So it brings now a lot of this friction that occurs between the parties. They trust that naive students will bring in, because I mean, they have the freshest minds. We get Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg did his project when he was a student. I mean, this is the point where techies make the money. When they are students, they think. Yes, after being a student, you just leverage, you just use a lot after that. So the patenting of projects and not the ecosystem in the Silicon Mountain ecosystem at first was so much for the community.
That's true.
Because we were involved so much on outreaching programs that were teaching us how to develop. This is your idea. How far has it gone? I think Mr. Fongotu was part of some of those sessions that when we were out, we were having those sessions, he was there. And a lot of people have been part of these sessions in those early days. But the shift in paradigm now, or what we have now, is why these questions come up. Because we have these naive students that bring up these projects, and this kind of taking of this project, and
and to answer that question, the security of any project or of idea in Silicon Mountain is 0%. That's just a simple truth.
Okay.
I cannot have my project and I take it to any guy in the Silicon that is under the Silicon Mountain. I can take it to a particular company or a startup, and I say, okay, this, or for instance, I can say, okay, this is my project. The particular company that is registered, this is my project, and this is what I want to do. So if that company duplicate that project, I'll be able to point fingers.
To point that is the person who has actually duplicated my project. And this person is still insisting, that is Ganje. Please, I need the panelists to answer my question. Please, Mr. Tasha, answer my question. And I think the question should be, you said Silicon Mountain has no leadership or structure, which is not what we see. Why are particular people? And I will mention there a few, Churchill, Laye, Are, Ashu, etc. are always in the forefront of the Silicon Mountain. Why?
Thank you. You said, I never said we all are getting that Silicon Mountain don't have a structure, but for me, I believe that there is something very fishy behind we don't have a structure type. And I don't know why the particular people always present. I do not want to call names.
Okay.
So I don't know why those particular people always present Silicon Mountain. But according to my research, or according from the other panelists, I learned that they are the maybe the early founders of the Silicon Mountain. But that should not be the case. You cannot be a founder of something and you say, okay, this is an open source thing, you people should play with this.
The platform should be open for all. Now I'm going to go back to my questions, Mr. Robert. I've not spoken to you in a while. I really like hearing you talk, and I'm guessing my televiewers too will actually want to hear something, what you have to say about this. Is the future of tech safe in the Silicon Mountain? With a yes or a no?
No.
Thank you.
Why no?
With the paradigm shift, as I explained earlier, with the paradigm shift from the community-based ecosystem we knew to an ecosystem that seeks only to lobby funds and leverage on ideas without actually developing these funds. And that's why anybody could quickly ask which projects have been executed by the Silicon Mountain ecosystem. Because if the Silicon Mountain ecosystem was really functioning as they were at first, a lot of languages were learned in a lot of conferences that were organized. It was not just a conference. There were a lot of conferences that led to a final conference. We always saw the Silicon Mountain conference as the final conference, like you have Christmas, and there are a lot of feasts within the year.
Tech
there's a shift in that paradigm.
The tech is not safe in the Silicon Mountain. Good evening, guys. I'm Anastasia from Limbe. You didn't give a reaction there, but we are happy that you're watching us right now. Mr. Tasha, if you were to give an advice to a young techpreneur out there who plans on going into technology full-time, will you advise that he or she becomes part of the Silicon Mountain?
If I'm to advise any young techpreneur out there, I only tell the person that use their brains wisely, because yes, I only tell the person use their brain wisely, especially when involving, because the truth is, being in the Silicon Mountain community, it helps you in one way or the other. Because when you are in the community, though you have identified the lapses, you can still use the lapses for your own interest.
All right.
Yes, you can come and you use the lapses for your own interest. But advising somebody to be part of the community, I can only advise you when the community have a defined structure that people follow. That okay, you can now get into, because as a young techpreneur, you will go and you give your idea and you will be sidelined, and that is why right up to now we've not heard of any active young techpreneur that came up in the Silicon Mountain and boom. Why is it that the main people that were only getting them from the Silicon Mountain are the old techies? Is it that they are not giving birth to the new people, or is it that they don't mentor the younger ones? What they were supposed to actually do to show that Silicon Mountain is progressing is to bring up young people so that they should be at least be on the spotlight. But when we go, I will show all faces on the spotlight. It shows that even mentorship is not in the Silicon Mountain.
Even mentorship is not in the Silicon Mountain. Now, while talking to some people out there, I mean, people who are actually into technology, I asked a question, and my initial question was, what was the whole idea of Silicon Mountain? Now, somebody said something, and I'm going to quote that person. Silicon Mountain was meant to be like an institution to train young techpreneurs, but it is not what we see today. How true is that statement?
100% true.
Okay, so it was not only meant to expose young techpreneurs, it was equally meant to train them.
Yes.
And it is not what we are seeing today.
Yes.
Now, with you guys saying that, or with everything you guys have said, I've learned this evening that Silicon Mountain has not got an organization. So who were the people, or who were those who were supposed to do the training of these young techpreneurs?
For the training was supposed to be like if the leadership of the Silicon Mountain was the way it was before, because I attend in the early days, so I attended training there at the First Trust building there. We had people that were doing trainings.
Okay.
And these people that were doing trainings, they were being compensated they were being compensated from the grants that was coming into the community. The truth is, I know that grants are coming into the community, but where are the grants going to?
Question. Mr. Tasha says he knows grants are coming into the community, but the question now is, where are the grants going to? Now, Mr. Tasha, you're going to hold that thought, and I just want to inform or let our televiewers out there know that lines are still open for reaction. You can see the number on the screen. Please do not call. Send an SMS or a WhatsApp message so that we can get what you think or the question you are asking to our panelists who are present here in the studio. Today we have Mr. Tasha Elvis, the CEO of Summit Tech, and of course Mr. Unica Roberts, who is equally the CEO of HIVC, and of course, not leaving out Mr. Tingom Ferdinand, who is the CEO of Fed Ceilings, and all are tech-based companies or tech-based institutions. Now, in the course of our conversation, I heard something like a conference, and I heard Mr. Tasha saying a conference from 2015, if I'm not mistaken, and the conference has been going on and on and on, and now they are soon planning another conference for 2022 edition. What do you have to say about this conference, and who are the organizers? Anyways, who are the people put in place to, control? Because when there's a conference, there's supposed to be a budget, there's supposed to be people to carry out things, there's supposed to be showcased. Who are the people put in place to carry out these activities?
I think Mr. Tingom Ferdinand is in the right place to answer that question.
Well, the question was directed to Mr. Tasha. I don't know why you people keep doing that.
No, I'm not just saying, but I think he's in the right place.
Okay, Mr. Tingom Ferdinand, who are the people put in place to, carry out or run the activities, including the budget, because of course there's a budget, and there's during my meeting with people out there, I heard some certain tech-based institutions like Summit Tech, HIVC are supposed or are meant to give a certain sum of contribution. I don't know how true that is, but I'm happy they are here and they are going to answer for themselves. Now back to my question. Who are those put in place to carry out the activities of this conference scheduled to hold when?
I think he'll give us the date too.
Okay, fine. Mr. Tingom, we are listening to you.
It's rather unfortunate that he's running away from the question. But then I will share my own experience. I also want to run away from the question.
Okay.
What I know about Silicon Mountain is that it's a geographical space that constitutes principally those who are involved in technology, whether you are consuming, you are producing, or you are training, and so we have different stakeholders. And so the idea about the conference came up. There's a need for a meeting where different persons now, somebody's in Limbe, building an application, and so the person wants to, we don't know. And so when this conference is an opportunity for people to come and showcase what they're doing at individual end. And so each year this conference is organized. For this year, I think it is in November. The specific date, I think between the 13th or so. I don't have the exact date.
Okay.
But who are those in charge of organizing? There's no particular institution. It's a community. So the community gather. Now there are people who volunteer to pioneer the activities. Okay. It can be a hub. It can be a startup. It can just be an individual who thinks that I have the capacity to assemble people for this conference. You bring out the plan of action and the community member accepts and it goes ahead. So for me, I still think that nobody is mandated to do it. Anybody can do it if you show that you have the capability. And so do we contribute? Since this community, there is also a need for people to support in the organization. You are not obliged, but it's a necessity for you to contribute.
Now that I would like to say that is an oxymoron. You're not obliged, but it is a necessity. I don't quite get what you mean by that. You're not obliged at the same time.
Because at the end of the day, if you don't contribute
yes.
in the planning and activity, you can still come and showcase your activities during the day, and nobody will say you will not showcase because you did not pay anything.
All right, now,
That's
Mr. Robert, how much is each, tech-based institution expected to pay for this conference?
I think the amounts varied according to hubs and startups.
Okay.
Yes, and I think there was a proximity of about 25,000 francs for startups, and then for hubs were about 50,000 francs. Yes. So I mean, this is what the community, the various arms have to bring together to host this event.
And how was that money adopted?
Yeah, it was in a meeting. Actually, meetings have been called up for these Silicon Mountain
Who calls
conference.
the meetings?
The organizing body.
How did the organizing committee for this year take
Mountain
the
Hub.
organizing part?
Yes, that is why I was iterating on the point that we are not clear. We are not clear how the transition occurs from the active spaces to the mountain hub. But what we know is that at a particular point, a document was forwarded to us, and we saw the mountain hub logo logo there, and a lot of people,
Mountain logo.
Yes, a lot of people complained that actually this is a Silicon Mountain event, and so please brand it as it should be. And it was branded, and actually a lot of apologies were given, and it was sent on the group. But what is not clear is how the transition occurred, and I think that's where a lot of problems come in, because what does it take
to host
to be among, yes, who is the next?
Voila.
That's the question.
Well, I'm very certain that as a program, the program is not going to end here. This is the first edition, and we are definitely going to have more editions. We shall bring in people who will be able to answer these questions, because these questions are, when tech people are actually asking these questions, it means that there are particular people who need to answer them and who have the answers. And I'm assuring you that I shall go in search of these people, and I'll bring them right here, and we are going to question them. Let's take this other reaction. What do you think can make the impact of tech to be felt in our community, Kole? What do you think can make the impact of tech to be felt in our community? I'm going to direct this question to Mr. Tasha. What do you think can make the impact of tech to be felt in our communities?
I think for the impact of tech to be felt in the community, we just need to collaborate sincerely, to have sincere collaboration, and also I think the person is talking about the Silicon Mountain community, right? So if we want the impact of tech to be felt in this community, we need to have an organizational structure for Silicon Mountain, so that we can feel the impact of tech in Buea.
There needs to be an organizational structure to be put in place in order to manage the activities of Silicon Mountain. Mr. Robert, it seems you have something to say.
Yes, I wanted to just cue up from where he ended by also giving another point of saying that actually the startups, the stakeholders in these communities have to come together to solve our own problems.
That's true.
And one thing that is clear about our community here is that we solve a lot of problems out. Churchill was known, from an international perspective before the country knew him. So we should solve our problems on the ground. He was solving a local problem, true, but he was recognized internationally. So we should do a community map and solve our problems that we are facing in our context in Cameroon. Yes,
Thank you very much, Mr. Robert. Now, the program is fast coming to an end, and just in very few words, please, Mr. Tingom Ferdinand, can you please give us your last words for today's program?
Okay, I think the future of tech for me is bright. It's challenging, but then it's bright. We see technologies changing the world. Data is informing for any. I want to encourage for those who want to join the world of technology. There are lots of opportunities. You must not be incubated. You can sit here, solve local problems, solve global problems. So embrace technology as a feature. Internet of Things, data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence. Those are the courses that we should bring in our school system. And we should be able to, the school system should embrace it, parents should embrace it. That's the direction. And so we have said a lot of things about politicking, But the most important thing is that if you study and you do well, forget about the politics. The global will become your market, and you will not need to know who is who doing what.
Forget about the politics, and the global market will be yours. Last words from Tingom Ferdinand. And dear televiewers, at this point we are we are actually placing a cap on today's edition of The Future. And don't forget that we are talking tech in Silicon Mountain, and I hope that you've gathered or learned a lot about technology. It's you know what is happening here in Boya, and of course what is happening in other areas. As for those of you who want to join the Silicon Mountain, of course Mr. Tingom has told you it is not an organization that you need to join with some kind of registration fee or something. Now, dear listeners, I would like to thank all those who watched and stayed with us on the program. I would like to thank you, and I will always say, those who actually reacted, you are the main deal. Do not forget, the rebroadcast of this program comes up every Saturday as from 11 to 1 p.m. Until then, keep the faith and catch us next time on Monday 7 to 9. Bye-bye.